for Jason.
Jason obliging with a demonstration of in the pocket.
Absolutely, yeah, right in the 1-3 pocket for the right-hander. Just a few revs lower than his previous shot, but threw all those pins all over the place. Rips the rack. Jason obviously working up a sweat there under these TV lights. Pressure probably on both players. It's not every day you stand up and play for $30,000.
Well, I think Paul's biggest pressure of this tournament was to get through that incredible semi-final against Remy Ong. That's where he really seemed to be suffering. And now he's in the final. Basically, he's in familiar territory.
3 years in a row he's been here.
Oh, great stuff. This is what the crowd came to see. It's strike after strike yet again.
One would suggest a slightly biased crowd coming from Yorkshire, as Paul Moor does. But yeah, great bowling from both players. 2 strikes each to start.
Paul seems to be really keeping a lid on those revs.
Well, against Remy Ong, of course, Remy being a left-hander, they both played on the left-hand side of the lane. That's not the situation here.
Oh, goodness me.
Belmonte shoots another 10 out on the right-hand side of the lane, and of course Paul is on his own out on the left-hand side, so make of it what you like. They're in their own area, they've got the lane to themselves.
And just a reminder that Jason Belmonte is the only player to shoot that maximum 300 game in the history of the World Tenpin Masters, so he too holds a unique record. But I think both these players would give up any pretensions to maximum games in this final. They are after the win. They want the trophy and they want that $30,000.
Nice title to put on your CV as well.
This is great stuff. This is great stuff. Sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, I'll just nip out the commentary booth for 5 minutes and let the players get on with it. 3 strikes each. Perfection so far. Classic bowling.
Well, we hope you're enjoying your ringside seats at the Jason and Paul show.
Well, let's face it, whoever doesn't strike, the pressure will be on them.
Clean again. It's looking very good out of the hand, isn't it, from Jason Belmonte?
Well, it's as smooth as you like, as smooth as Jason can make it. There is the fingers deep in the ball, no thumb. And the rotation is just unbelievable. When it hits that pocket, those pins just go flying. Needs to keep it under control. It's a high swinging, high hooking ball, lots of power, lots of speed.
That's a good strike rate, 72%. That's way up there. And converting well on the spares. It's 2 ends of the spectrum. Strikes are great, but you've got to make sure that you're clean as well. You don't want open frames. That will cost you. And as we've seen this, well, basically we've seen this year at this year's tournament, the quality of bowling, an open frame, you've lost the match.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Paul looking for strike number 4.
Paul is really controlling the speed and the revs on this ball, and he's trying to make sure that he leaves that lane condition as unaffected as possible.
Well, absolutely. That's the whole idea and the concept behind this bowling. Use the oar to your advantage. Do your shoelaces up when you have to, and shoot some strikes. And of course, we can thank our friends at Complete Leisure for this fantastic lane condition they've given us this tournament.
Yeah, he liked it. And the showmanship has started. Moore won't respond. You're not going to get any sort of shouting response from Paul. He's just going to keep throwing his strikes if he can.
Hollywood looking for an Oscar. He's obviously got the crowd on his side. And yes, it may well be that he's trying to psych out Paul Moore here. Could be an interesting couple of frames. They can both keep striking.
It was a very sudden change, wasn't it, of tempo from Belmonte off a ball that looked similar to all the others.
Well, if you've hit 4 perfect strikes, you've got to think, okay, you know, I'm lined up, I've got my A game here. How long will this condition last for me? How many strikes can I make before I possibly have to make a change?
Well, it's 5 for Belmonte, and Moore just pulling out of that shot. We've seen a few players do this, but that's not a problem. This is what elite players in any sport will do. If it's not right, they won't go.
Quality of the highest order. Well, this is exactly how the Belmonte Barnes semi-final started, and when I saw both players get to halfway striking out, I must admit, Cass, I thought, well, we're going to have to wait a long time to see something like this again, and we've had to wait for just the second semi-final to pass, and we're back in to this strikeout situation.
A strike feast, isn't it? 5 each. 6 for Belmonte, he's halfway there.
Well, Belmonte's filling his boots now.
Absolutely, large boots to fill, and he's taken a whole handful. Look at this. Absolute perfection, time after time after time.
There's going to be some sore shoulders after this tournament for the crowd, because they're having to hold those strike cards up time and time again. That is just perfect.
I was talking to Jason just before this final. Next week he's off to Istanbul, then he's off to Florida, back to Sweden, and he says he's actually going to get a week at home in Australia, if he's lucky, before he takes off around the world again. What a schedule these bowlers have got.
Well, it's nice he can walk around the town of Orange, just remind people who he is. Although if he wins this one, they'll know just who he is. Moor.
Oh, he's got it. That 7 looked a bit sticky, but the messenger took it.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Ring a 7-pin, use the head pin, get the messenger. Watch this one. There it goes. Get out.
Oh, fantastic.
Creates so much reaction in the back end, these bowling balls. Those twister pins go flying.
But Cass, he was spot on again, wasn't he? And he got a slightly different reaction. So for Moor, we know there is just a touch of a change in the lane.
Could well possibly, Simon. Yes, he's going to have to look at that. He'll have to see how his next shot does react. Oh, Bomo with the 5-pin. A little bit lucky boy there, but he was in the pocket. You can't do better than that.
So both players seeing a change in the condition of the oil out there on the lane. Both players are going to have to start to think about how they're going to deal with this. A number of different ways they can. They can shuffle just slightly along the boards left or right, or, as most will do, first of all, they'll go to a change in the release of the ball, so the way that they handle that ball onto the lane.
Yeah, there's also a setup with the feet, either left or right, usually left, on the approach. And we're just talking sort of inches, nothing more than that.
7 in a row for Belmonte, 6 in a row for Paul Moor. This is incredible.
And the first problem, it's Moor that can't quite make the adjustment that was required, and he's going to spare in the 7th frame.
Just a fraction high on the head pin this ball has come. It's left himself the 6 and the 8 pin. Fortunately, the 8 pin's gone. Shrug of the shoulders there. Well, he's going to have to settle for a spare. It's just about that time the lane's going to make changes. The oil's going to move around, and they've got to notice it and make the adaptation. Good spare for Paul.
Well, we can be very confident about what we're saying in terms of whether the lane has changed or the player has changed his action. We're getting computer-aided tracking system information back from Andy Penny, our stats man, and he's confirming there's been very little change from Moor, so the one thing that has to have changed is the lane condition.
Quite right, Simon, yeah. And it's just a matter of whether he's going to adapt to it. I'm sure he will. In the meantime, it's Belmonte looking for number 8.
Well, he's there.